Okay, back in the saddle here. Luna had a drink. You can see more rock work here on both sides. Over here you can see, so essentially on this line, there was on the west and then usually north side was a telegraph line, and on the east and usually south side there was a power line. And so down there you can actually see one of the ceramic insulators from the power line, and here and there you can actually see some of the bases of the poles for both lines. So the sun is starting to peek out here. Hopefully it'll hold off a bit. Again, you can see all of the rock work here. So we're coming up to yet another sort of big rock cut. The ballast is bad. Once there's like kind of little ruts in the middle, and then once you get outside of the rut, you're in trouble. So here's a tie plate. And so you can see some of this massive rock work here. If I tuck myself in a little bit more, maybe you can see it better. It's probably backlit like crazy. The sun is just cresting over the top of the ridges there. And so here you can see a cable probably from one of the, and a ring bolt that was probably holding up one of the power line poles, probably up there somewhere. And then here, we're gonna stop just up here. We have a really neat thing. You don't see these very often on this section of line. So what we have is we have a rock retaining wall. There's actually 3 of these on this section here. This is the first one. And so you can see all of these rocks all nice and neatly stacked up. It's just really incredible to see. This one's probably, there's a break there in the middle. Maybe it looks like it's been knocked out. But maybe this one's about 50 feet long. Just also just a gorgeous morning. So there's the sun. And I'm probably shooting into the sun this way. There's one of the bases for the power line poles. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to hold up. And we've got a lot more stuff coming up. We got to do a battery change here, and then we'll resume our journey. All right, so we're back in the saddle here, leaving that rock wall behind. The sun is really coming out here now, so it's going to be hard to kind of see some spots. So next grouping of things, you'll notice this kind of really out of place flanger sign. I just found this one. Hadn't seen it before. I kind of looked for it and did notice it. So why do we have a flanger sign kind of in the middle of nowhere? Well, we're going to see in 1 second here, because we have something that we don't see very often. The first time I did this section, I had absolutely no idea what this was. I saw this thing, I'm like, what the heck is this? You can see the metal bar that's usually used to indicate the culverts. And so what we have here is, you can see there's this metal drum, and then there's this big box with pieces of metal and pipes sticking out of it, and what looks like grease or tar inside. So what this thing is, you can see there's a lid for it. This is what's called a mechanical wheel flanger. And basically what it is, we're going to see 2 of these. We're going to see one here and there's one further up. So essentially what this is this is normally buried beside the grade. And I'm going to put a link to one that you're going to see, one that's buried. And so essentially what happens is, as the train goes by, essentially the contact that the wheels are making with this apparatus, with this mechanism, basically pumps grease into the inside part of the wheels, the rails, to lubricate the wheel flanges. The wheel flanges are those little pieces that come down on the side of the train wheels that basically keep them in the track. Now the problem is that in areas like this, where there's a lot of curves, a lot of sharp curves, and so what happens is that puts a lot of stress and a lot of friction on the inside part of those wheels, and so you need to lubricate them. And so oftentimes when you hear trains running and sometimes you hear this screech, basically that's the flanges coming into contact. Now I think what eventually ended up happening was these things were no longer used, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'll try to see if I can find out that these were primarily used with sort of older style rails. And I think what happened on this line was not totally continuously welded rail, but it was used in sections. And so the some of the curvy sections were replaced with continuously welded rails. You can see part of the mechanism here, and the continuously welded rails were much better for the stress on the curves and stuff. So here, maybe I'll go by and turn back so you can see it, is we have the other flanger. And so why do we have the two flanger signs? Well, basically when the flanger's coming along, usually there's wings on the flanger that pushes the snow out from the side of the grade. Basically there's a tie plate, here's another piece of telegraph pole. The spreading machine has those wings, and if the operator doesn't pull up the wing, they're basically going to take the top off of the flanger and damage all of the mechanisms and stuff that are part of the not the flanger, the flange greaser mechanism. Okay, so we're just continuing to push south again here. Here's Luna. We still got the Luna cam on her. Curious to see what that is going to turn up. Here you can see there's a bucket down there. Lots of buckets here and there. Basically, one of the reasons why you see a lot of buckets is because spikes were normally carried in buckets. In the old days, they would have come in kegs. So here you can see another one here. And then eventually they would have them in buckets. And so when they would be done using the spikes, they would just sort of discard them off to the side of the grade. Oh man, the ballast is brutal in some spots. Okay, so I'm going to zip you ahead a little bit here. So here we're coming alongside the bay again. You can imagine in the early days, especially, the trees, a lot of the trees would not be here. The views here are just absolutely gorgeous. I love this area. And so just to clarify, there's basically two bays. So to the north is Lake Nipigon, which is a massive body of water. Then you have this first part up to where Orient Bay Station is. This is Pijitawabik Bay. And then everything from the Orient Bay Station to the south is known as Orient Bay. I'm not sure where the name... Luna, come here. We have to fix Luna cam here. I'm not sure where the name Orient Bay came from. We mentioned already that Pijitawabik was an indigenous name. Just gorgeous. I absolutely love this area. This has got to be one of the most scenic areas, and certainly one of the most scenic railway areas in this this part of the country. It's one of the shames that this railway line was gone. The views and the scenery on this line are just incredible. So now the sun's really out, and so we kind of get these big sort of contrasty areas between the sunny areas and the shady areas. Hopefully the sun is still low enough that we can see some of the rock cuts and things. So here we have yet another flange greaser. I'm just looking to see if I missed the flanger sign. So here's our other flange greaser. So here you can see some of the mechanisms. You can see some of the hoses and things. You can actually see the marker here, so where the flange for the greaser actually is. Oops. knocked that all the way down. So here you can see a barrel where I'm guessing would have used to hold the grease. And so here is the greaser. And so you can actually see this big, I'll take my helmet off. You can see this big pile of grease on the ground. And then you can see the greaser here. Not great for the environment here, but you can see a little bit more of the mechanism. So you can see the this thing here would have, I believe, would have engaged the rails and basically helped to circulate the grease. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to hop back up on the grade and just continue plugging our way to the south.